She spoke softly, "One touch, and you'll forget everyone else." The forbidden greeting. The transport glided through opalescent clouds, and Kira pressed her face against the viewport, breath catching as Ethermere materialized from the mist. Spires of living crystal twisted skyward, catching the perpetual twilight in prismatic cascades. After 6 months of training and 3 weeks traveling through space, she was finally here, the legendary floating city that humanity had only dreamed about for generations. "Remember the protocols," Myra muttered beside her, checking her tablet for the 100th time. No direct questions about their technology. No photographs of sacred spaces. And absolutely no unsanctioned physical contact. The Luminari take their personal boundaries seriously. Kira nodded, smoothing the formal ambassador's coat over her nervous hands. She'd memorized every cultural guideline, practiced the traditional greetings until her tongue could navigate the melodic language without stumbling. This assignment was everything she'd worked toward, a chance to bridge 2 civilizations that had barely begun to understand each other. The landing platform gleamed like polished moonstone. As Kira descended the ramp, a delegation awaited in flowing robes that seemed woven from light itself. But her attention fixed immediately on the woman at their center. Varel Norin moved with liquid grace, her dark hair streaked with silver that caught the ambient glow. Amber eyes held depths that made Kira feel suddenly transparent, as though every secret she'd ever kept lay exposed. The Luminari woman's expression remained serene, but something flickered there, recognition, perhaps, or warning. "Ambassador Ashlan." Varel's voice carried like wind chimes. "Welcome to Ethermore. We have waited long for this moment." The traditional greeting required a specific gesture, palms raised, fingertips nearly touching but not quite. Kira lifted her hands carefully, mindful of the prohibition. But as she moved, her foot caught on an uneven crystal seam. She stumbled forward. Varel's reflexes were faster than thought. Their palms met, pressed together for 1 heartbeat, then 2. Warmth flooded through Kira's skin, racing up her arms and settling somewhere behind her ribs. The world seemed to sharpen, colors more vivid, sounds more distinct. Varel's eyes widened, amber irises flaring bright, and for an instant her composed mask slipped to reveal something raw and startled. They broke apart quickly, but the warmth lingered. "Forgive me," Kira whispered. Varel's expression had already smoothed back to diplomatic neutrality, but her next words came soft and urgent, meant for Kira alone. "Be careful, Ambassador. 1 touch, and everything changes. Some connections cannot be undone." Before Kira could respond, Varel had turned to address the full delegation, gesturing toward the palace gates. But as they walked, Kira felt those amber eyes tracking her movement, and the phantom warmth of that brief contact pulsed like a second heartbeat against her palm. Something had begun that neither protocol nor propriety could prevent. Secrets in starlight. The guest quarters were more luxurious than anything Kira had experienced. Walls that shifted color with her mood, a bed that molded to her body's needs, windows overlooking the eternal cloudscape. But she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt that warmth again, saw those amber eyes widening in surprise. 3 days had passed since the greeting ceremony. 3 days of formal meetings, carefully choreographed tours, and not a single glimpse of Varel Norin. Darren Solis, stern and watchful, had taken over as her primary liaison, his manner polite but cool. On the 4th night, a crystalline chime sang at her door, different from the usual alert tone. Kira opened it to find a luminescent petal drifting at eye level, glowing with soft blue light. It floated forward, and instinctively she followed. The petal led her through silent corridors, past sleeping guards, up spiraling stairs she'd never seen. Finally, it dissolved at the entrance to a garden suspended in open sky. Flowering vines wrapped around nothing, held by the same mysterious force that kept the entire city aloft. Stars blazed overhead, unfamiliar constellations that reminded Kira just how far from Earth she'd come. Varel stood at the garden's edge, her silhouette framed by starlight. She'd abandoned formal robes for something simpler that moved like water around her form. "You shouldn't have come," Varel said without turning. "You summoned me." "I know." Varel finally faced her, and the moonlight caught the conflict in her expression. "I shouldn't have. But I needed to explain. What happened between us?" The touch. Kira moved closer, drawn by something she couldn't name. You said everything changes. What did you mean? Varel's hands twisted together. My people are different from yours. When we make contact, truly make contact, our nervous systems connect. It's how we once communicated before language. But with strong emotion present, the connection can become permanent. A bond that ties two souls together across any distance. That sounds beautiful. It's a prison. Varel's voice turned harsh. Especially for outsiders who don't understand. The bond creates hunger, obsession. Humans who've bonded with my people have lost themselves, forgotten their own identities, lived only to be near their chosen one. It's why our laws forbid it now. Why I should never have touched you. Kira's heart hammered. But you did. A brief contact. Not enough to bind, but enough to. Varel trailed off, taking a shaky breath. Enough to want more. And that's dangerous for both of us. The space between them felt charged, electric. Kira knew she should step back, should return to her quarters and request a different liaison. But instead she asked, "Do you want more?" Varel's composure cracked. Every moment since you arrived. It's maddening. You stand before the council with such passion, defending ideas of unity and exchange, and all I can think about is how your hand felt against mine. How your eyes light up when you discover something new about our city. I watch you, and I wonder. What? Kira whispered, closing the distance between them. What it would feel like to know you completely. To let you know me. Varel's hand rose, trembling, stopping just short of Kira's cheek. One true touch, skin to skin with intention, and the bond would form. I would feel everything you feel. You would carry part of me always. There would be no going back. And if I wanted that? You don't understand what you'd be choosing. Kira caught Varel's hovering hand, not quite touching, their palms separated by a breath of air. Heat radiated between them. Then help me understand. Show me. For a long moment, they stood frozen, hands almost touching, eyes locked. Then Varel's fingers shifted, the barest brush against Kira's wrist where her pulse beat wild. The warmth returned, stronger now, spreading like honeyed fire. Kira gasped at the intensity of it, at the sudden awareness of Varel's heartbeat matching her own. It wasn't the full bond, not yet, but it was more than before. A preview of what could be. We have to stop, Varel breathed, but she didn't pull away. If anyone knew I was even considering this, Darren already suspects. The council would exile me. You'd be sent away. I don't care. You should. But Varel's thumb traced a slow circle against the sensitive skin of Kira's inner wrist, and they both trembled. Promise me you'll think about this. Really think. Don't come back here unless you're certain. And if I am certain? Varel's smile was sad and full of longing. Then may the stars forgive us both. She released Kira's wrist and stepped back. The loss of contact felt like cold water, leaving Kira aching. Without another word, Varel turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Kira alone beneath alien stars with her skin still burning and her heart making impossible promises. The council's judgment. The formal dinner was an ambush disguised as diplomacy. Kira realized it the moment she entered the great hall and saw the seating arrangement, herself at the center of a long crystal table, surrounded by the council's most conservative members. Varel sat at the far end, her face carefully neutral. Darren stood behind her chair like a guardian statue. Ambassador Ashlan, Elder Thessia began, her voice ancient as stone. We've been reviewing your proposals for cultural exchange. Some members have concerns. Councillor Wraith, thin-lipped and cold-eyed, leaned forward. You speak of unity between our peoples. Yet you've been seen wandering our city at night, asking questions about matters that don't concern humans. Kira's stomach tightened. Someone had been watching. I'm simply trying to understand your culture. Isn't that why I'm here? There are boundaries, another councillor added. Sacred traditions that outsiders shouldn't witness. We've been generous, but perhaps too much so. The conversation continued through course after course, beautiful food that turned to ash in Kira's mouth as they systematically dismantled her proposals. They questioned her motives, her qualifications, the intentions of Earth itself. It was clear someone had poisoned them against her. But who? Her answer came when Counselor Maresh spoke. She was younger than the others, beautiful in the sharp way of knives, and her eyes kept flicking toward Varel with poorly concealed anger. Perhaps, Maresh said sweetly, the ambassador has been distracted from her duties. It's well known that humans are easily captivated by our people. Tell me, ambassador, have you formed any inappropriate attachments during your stay? The question hung in the air like a blade. Kira felt every eye turn to her. Blood rushed to her face, but she kept her voice steady. My attachment is to the success of this mission. Nothing more. Really? Maresh's smile sharpened. Because I've heard whispers of midnight meetings. Of someone using her position to pursue personal desires rather than diplomatic ones. That's enough. Varel's voice cut through the hall like crystal breaking. Everyone turned to stare. Varel had risen from her seat, hands pressed flat against the table, her composure finally shattered. How dare you question the ambassador's integrity based on gossip and jealousy? Maresh's face flushed. Jealousy? I'm simply protecting our traditions. You're protecting your own interests, Varel interrupted. You've opposed this exchange from the beginning because it threatens your influence. Don't hide behind tradition when your motives are purely political. Varel. Darren's voice carried warning. Careful. But Varel ignored him, her amber eyes blazing. Ambassador Ashland has shown nothing but respect for our culture. She's learned our language, studied our customs, approached every interaction with genuine curiosity and care. If anyone has failed in their duty, it's this council for treating her with suspicion instead of the honor she deserves. The silence that followed was deafening. Elder Thessia's expression had gone unreadable. Kira's heart hammered. Varel had just risked everything to defend her. Strong words, Thessia finally said. Unusually passionate ones, Councillor Norin. One might wonder what inspires such fervent defense. Varel met the elder's gaze without flinching. The truth inspires it. And perhaps shame that we're treating a guest this way. Maresh laughed bitterly. Oh, this is rich. You accuse me of personal motives when... When what? Varel's voice went dangerously soft. Say what you mean, Maresh. The tension crackled. Kira knew she should speak, should de-escalate, but she was transfixed by Varel's fierce protection, by the way her own chest swelled with feelings too large to name. Elder Thessia raised a hand, and silence fell. This council is adjourned. We will continue discussions tomorrow. Ambassador Ashland, you're dismissed. Kira stood on shaking legs, but as she passed Varel's chair, their eyes met. In that look passed 1,000 words, 1,000 promises. Varel's hand rested on the table's edge, and Kira's brushed against it as she walked by, brief, deliberate, witnessed by everyone. The warmth sparked again, stronger each time. Kira didn't look back as she left the hall, but she felt Varel's presence like sunlight against her spine. Later, alone in her quarters, the door chimed again. This time it was Varel herself who stood there, breathing hard as though she'd run the entire distance. I don't care anymore, Varel said before Kira could speak. I don't care about the council or the consequences or... Kira pulled her inside, the door sliding shut behind them. They stood in the shifting light, close enough to share breath. Are you sure? Kira whispered. Varel's hand rose to cup her face, hesitating for one last moment at the threshold of everything. I've never been more certain of anything. Their skin met, palm to cheek, fingers threading into hair, and the world transformed. The warmth became fire, became light, became a thread of pure connection that wound through Kira's chest and pulled tight. She gasped at the intensity, at the sudden rush of feeling that wasn't quite hers. Varel's longing, her fear, her desperate hope all flowing through the touch like water finding level. Varel's lips found hers, and the bond deepened. They sank together onto the bed that adjusted beneath them, hands exploring, learning the landscape of each other's bodies while their minds learned something deeper. Every touch multiplied sensation. When Kira traced the curve of Varel's neck, she felt it twice, her own wonder and Varel's shiver of pleasure echoing back. I can feel you, Varel breathed against her mouth. Everything you feel. It's overwhelming. It's perfect. They came together slowly, reverently, as the bond wove tighter with each kiss, each touch, each whispered word. Time dissolved. There was only warmth and connection and the joy of finally letting go. Afterwards, they lay tangled together, Varel's head on Kira's chest, their heartbeats synchronizing as the bond settled into place. There's no going back now, Varel murmured. Kira's fingers combed through silver-streaked hair. Good. The binding storm. Kira woke to alarms screaming through the city. Varel was already at the window, her face illuminated by flashing warning lights. Through the bond, still so new it made Kira dizzy, she felt Varel's fear like ice water in her veins. What's happening? Kira scrambled from the bed, pulling on clothes. Atmospheric destabilization. The generators that keep Ethermore aloft, something's wrong. Varel turned, eyes wide. This hasn't happened in 300 years. They ran together through corridors filling with panicked citizens. The floor beneath them trembled, and through the windows, Kira saw the clouds below churning black and violent. Lightning forked through the darkness, striking at the city's crystal spires. The council chamber was chaos. Darren was already there, coordinating evacuation protocols. Elder Thessia stood at the central display, her ancient face drawn with worry. The holographic readout showed 4 of the 8 primary generators failing, their energy signatures flickering like dying stars. We've lost external sensor access, a technician reported. The storm is interfering with everything. Then send teams physically, Maresh snapped. We need to know what's causing the failures. The external platforms are exposed to the full force of the storm, Darren countered. Anyone out there would be. I'll go. Kira's voice cut through the argument. All eyes turned to her. I'm trained for hostile environment operations. And I'm expendable, not Luminari. Absolutely not, Varel said immediately. But Elder Thessia was studying Kira with new interest. What do you propose, Ambassador? Kira moved to the display, her mind racing through the technical specifications she'd studied. The generators use crystalline matrices to channel energy, right? If the storm is electromagnetic in nature, it could be creating feedback loops. But human ships use magnetic shielding that might adapt to your systems. If I can reach the primary junction and recalibrate the frequency. That's suicide, Darren interrupted. The platforms are breaking apart. It's our only chance, Kira insisted. Through the bond, she felt Varel's terror, her desperate urge to refuse. But beneath that, she felt something else, pride, and the knowledge that Kira was right. Varel stepped forward, her jaw set. Then I'm going with her. No, Kira started, but Varel gripped her hand. We're bonded now. I can sense your thoughts, guide you through our systems faster than any communication device. Together, we have a chance. Elder Thessia looked between them, understanding dawning in her ancient eyes. So it's true. You've formed the connection. Silence fell. Kira waited for condemnation, but Thessia only nodded slowly. Then go. Both of you. Save our city, and perhaps you'll save more than stone and crystal. They suited up in environmental gear, the protective fields humming around them. As they stepped onto the external platform, the storm hit like a physical blow. Wind screamed past, carrying debris that sparked against the shields. The city groaned around them, metal and crystal protesting forces they were never meant to withstand. This way! Varel shouted over the roar, but through the bond, her words were clear as thought. Kira followed, their hands linked, the connection between them a lifeline more reliable than any safety tether. The primary junction was a nightmare of sparking circuits and fractured crystal. Energy arced wildly, and the platform beneath them shuddered with each lightning strike. I can't get close enough. Kira yelled. The feedback was too intense, pushing back against her shields. Through the bond, she felt Varel's decision a heartbeat before she acted. Varel pressed her palm to the largest crystal matrix, using her own bioelectric field to create a ground. She screamed as the energy surged through her, but held firm. Now, Kira. Recalibrate now. Kira dove forward, her hands flying over the controls. Human technology met luminary science, and she felt Varel's knowledge flowing through the bond, centuries of understanding compressed into instinct. Her fingers moved in patterns she didn't consciously know, guided by their shared connection. The generator whined, frequency shifting. Another lightning strike hit, and Varel's grip on the crystal faltered. Without thinking, Kira grabbed her hand, and the circuit completed through both of them. Pain exploded through every nerve. But beneath it, the bond burned brighter. Their thoughts merged completely, not just feelings but memories, dreams, fears. Kira saw Varel as a child, learning to control her gift. Varel saw Earth through Kira's eyes, the blue planet that symbolized hope and home. They understood each other completely, loved each other wholly, in that single infinite moment. The generator caught. Stabilized. The frequency locked into a new harmonic that pushed back against the storm's interference. One by one, the other generators synchronized, following the pattern. The shaking subsided. The lightning redirected around the city's shields instead of striking them. Through clearing clouds, stars began to emerge. They collapsed together on the platform, still holding hands, gasping for breath. Through the bond, relief and joy flooded back and forth until neither knew whose feelings were whose. You could have died, Kira managed. So could you. Varel laughed, slightly hysterical. We're bonded now. If one of us dies, the other feels it. Might as well face death together. Darren found them there, and for once, his stern expression had softened. The city is stable. You did it. He offered a hand to pull them up. Both of you. As they limped back inside, bruised and exhausted, the corridor filled with citizens who'd come to see the humans and Luminari who'd saved them. But Kira's attention fixed on Elder Thessia, waiting at the entrance. Walk with me, the Elder said. Dawn of a new era. Elder Thessia led them to the highest tower in Ethermore, where the first light of dawn was beginning to paint the clouds gold and rose. Kira's body ached from the storm's punishment, but through the bond, Varel's presence soothed like balm. You saved us, Thessia said simply, gazing out at the city. A human and a Luminari, working as one. Quite the statement. Elder, I know we violated the prohibition, Varel began, but Thessia raised a hand. You formed a bond. I can see it in how you move together, finish each other's thoughts. The old laws forbid such connections to protect outsiders from obsession, to prevent our people from being consumed by attachment. She turned to face them fully. But what I witnessed tonight was not obsession. It was partnership. Balance. You saved each other as much as you saved this city. Hope flickered in Kira's chest. You're not going to separate us. I'm too old to cling to rules that no longer serve their purpose. Thessia's weathered face creased with something like a smile. The bonds were forbidden because we feared inequality, that the Luminari would dominate, that others would lose themselves. But you too found equilibrium. Perhaps it was never the bonds themselves that were dangerous, but the way we approached them. Footsteps echoed behind them. The full council arrived, Darren and Maresh among them. Maresh's expression was complicated, shame mixed with reluctant acceptance. The city is talking of nothing else, Maresh said quietly. How you risked everything to save us. How your bond made you stronger, not weaker. She met Varel's eyes. I was wrong to question you. I was jealous of what you found. What I've never had the courage to seek myself. Varel squeezed Kira's hand. It takes courage to admit that. Elder Thessia addressed the assembled council. We stand at a crossroads. We can cling to fear and isolation, or we can embrace the change these two represent. Ambassador Ashland came here to build bridges. Perhaps she's built one we never expected, between heart and heart, not just world and world. Councillor Wraith stepped forward, the skeptic who'd questioned Kira at the disastrous dinner. If we allow this bond to stand, we acknowledge that the old prohibitions were wrong. That humans and Luminari can be equals in such connections. It would change everything. Maybe everything needs to change, Darren said, surprising them all. He looked at Varel with something like apology. I've spent my life protecting traditions I never questioned. Watching you two fight for each other, for all of us, it made me wonder what else we've been protecting ourselves from. Growth. Perhaps. Evolution. Elder Thessia spread her arms wide, encompassing the dawning sky. Let the record show that as of this moment, the prohibition on bonding with outsiders is lifted. Not abolished. Such connections must still be entered with full knowledge and consent. But no longer forbidden. She turned to Kira and Varel. You will be the first, but I suspect not the last. Your bond will be studied, honored, and held as proof that unity is possible. Tears streamed down Varel's face, and through the bond, Kira felt her overwhelming relief and joy. She pulled Varel close, kissing her temple as the council members began to applaud, slowly at first, then with genuine warmth. There's one condition, Thessia added, her eyes twinkling. You must both stay in Ethermere and serve as ambassadors of this new age. Show our peoples what partnership truly means. Kira thought of Earth, of the career she'd built, the life she'd planned. But through the bond, she felt Varel's quiet question, the hope she didn't dare voice aloud. And Kira knew her answer before the question fully formed. I accept, she said. If Ambassador Chen can handle the formal diplomatic duties, I'd be honored to stay here. To build something new. The council dispersed, leaving them alone with the sunrise. Varel turned in Kira's arms, and they kissed as the first true dawn of their new life broke across the sky. So what happens now? Kira murmured against Varel's lips. Now. Varel smiled, radiant with happiness. Now we live. We work. We prove that love isn't weakness or obsession, it's strength. We show both our peoples that connection doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding yourself reflected in another's soul. Through the bond, Kira felt the truth of those words resonating. She could sense Varel's presence like a permanent warmth in her chest, but her own thoughts remained her own. The bond didn't erase her, it amplified her. Made her braver, stronger, more whole. I love you, Kira said, the words inadequate but necessary. I know. Varel grinned. I can feel it. And I love you too, though that's rather redundant now, isn't it? They laughed together, the sound carrying across the tower as Ethermore woke to a new day. Below them, the city pulsed with renewed energy, its people emerging to repair and rebuild. Human and Luminari would work side by side now, inspired by the bond that had saved them all. Myra's voice crackled over Kira's communicator. Please tell me you're alive. The whole city's talking about some crazy stunt you pulled. And, wait, why does your biometric reading look weird? Your heart rate is synchronized with someone else's signature. Kira exchanged a glance with Varel, their shared amusement flowing through the bond. That's a long story. I'll explain everything. But Myra, I'm going to need you to take over as primary ambassador. I found a different way to serve. You're staying? Kira, what happened? Kira looked at Varel, at the woman who was now part of her soul, at the city they'd saved together. I fell in love. And I'm never letting go. As the sun climbed higher, painting Ethermore in shades of gold and promise, Kira and Varel stood hand in hand, their bond a living bridge between worlds. They had defied tradition, risked everything, and emerged as symbols of a future neither humanity nor the Luminari had dared imagine. One touch had changed everything, not with obsession or loss, but with understanding, partnership, and love that made them both more than they'd been alone. The ancient city floated on, carrying them forward into an unknown future. But they would face it together, two hearts beating as one, proof that the strongest bonds aren't chains, they're wings. The end.